All right, we did the casting now. I think you guys have seen the video, and it's finally turned white all around. And so we have now our fine finished things. Got these little clown feet. Now, it did not set up ridiculously fast like I saw in the past. Like we don't have the ultra fast. It was pretty fast so that we can get the stuff out in an hour. It ain't coming out of this thing though. But let's see how our shell came out. We have the original shell. Now, this is the Mold Max silicone mold, and look what we got. Now, that's the idea. This is the mold. This is now the cast of the mold, of the piece. So we made the original, made a mold of it, the negative, and now we're back to casting positives again. So we can now run more shells, should we wish to. But that wasn't the only thing we did. We also have this one. Remember this guy? Let's see how this other, now this was the, this may not work that well. Not everything works correctly. Ah, there it starts to come loose. The nice thing about this stuff is this is much more durable than that, so you can work at it a little harder at getting things out. But it also means this was a little more involved to get the releases done. And it looks like it worked, except for that one defect. Remember we had that one air pocket over here? So that is not correct. But otherwise, this worked out all right, except for the fact that we're never going to get a hermit crab inside of that thing. Remember, these are all one-sided molds. So this one had enough flex to be able to unflex around that. Now that was the silicone molds. Now we also had these two urethane molds. Now this one sort of stuck itself to the table too. In the shop when we do this, we have one piece of plywood we use and it gets thrown out at the end of the year. If you take a look, this guy has this nose down in there. So it does have an undercut. The undercut is the part that comes around and it's hard to get out. So I couldn't pull this straight out. But the nice thing about this one is you can open the back end up and try to get it out this way. This stuff is a little greasy. Hey, look at that. Sort of like half of a horse. What happened? You lost some of the horse.
That's how far it goes up.
Okay, fine. There's more of the mold probably somewhere. Regardless, we got a horsey. Look at the horsey. So a seashell, horsey. Now this thing really glued itself to the table and the knife and everything else. I obviously did not get this level. And it was very shallow too. So let's see if we can get this out. All right, come on. You know you want to come out. All right, so it looks like the throwing all right, so this did not work.
Did you spray it?
I sprayed it, but we also left it in here an extra day. Yeah, this one obviously is not. I sprayed it. I can get this thing out of here, but
If you were more gentle.
it's not the gentleness of it. It's the narrowness of it and the material. This ring here is going to be fine because the ring is thick enough and deep enough that I can work around it and get it out. That little throwing star piece, you can see how thin that was. That just was not going to hold up to the abuse of getting it out. Especially when the inside was released, but not necessarily all the outside was released. But that's the fun of this project. You never know what's going to come out. Or if anything's going to come out. Which one is going to be a horrible disaster. All right, maybe this isn't.
I think you can get it out.
I can get it out. Ah, there it
you
goes. The release does not go everywhere, so some of this stuff is sticking real good. All right. And again, that's one of the downsides of this. Remember we talked about silicone not sticking to anything? Urethane does stick to everything. So this was much more difficult to get the urethane out of a urethane mold than it was to get out of a silicone mold. All right, so I have a ring. Look. All right, now, I'm not going to cast anything else just yet because I want you to look at the next part of this. Again, all of these were one-sided casts. One piece of stuff, flat-backed. We opened it up, and you have a flat-back shell. So again, this side of the shell is not the same as that side of the shell. When you do a more complicated piece, you're looking for something that ideally has radial symmetry. This has bilateral symmetry and radial symmetry. It means it's the exact same thing on both halves. So I can do one part of the mold here and one part of the mold there, and then put it together. This is a piece that was done very much like that. And you will notice where those pieces mold together. Also, I also went through a lot of our Christmas stuff, and we have, yes, interesting drill bit Christmas ornaments, in case you don't. Notice the web right there. That's the seam line where this was put together. Same thing on Mr. Pelican here. Again, bilateral symmetry. This side is the exact same as that side, so I can make this in two parts, but then there is the seam where those two parts went together. Now this guy, on the other hand, a little more complicated. You'll notice right down the back, there is that same web, that same seam where he went together, but the legs are not that way. So the legs, in order to get the leg together, you had to have a three-part mold here. One part of the mold just sat in with all the legs, and you'll notice the web complicatedly all around there. They even like didn't bother to put scalation on that part either. So there's one part of the mold here, one part of the mold here, and then a third part of the mold that sat in the middle between the legs. If you ever see a situation, and you may have some of these action figures that are doing this, you now have a hole. It's like if you look at your action figure, you may notice a seam, a web that runs right up like this and around, because that's what it takes to be able to have two parts of the mold to come apart like that. So, what are you going to do today? You are going to go look around in your toys, in your action figures, in kitchen components, or Christmas, and find something that has that web. Find something that was molded in two parts or three parts, and show me a picture of that web, that connection seam. So you are looking for something now in your house, in your personal property or around your area that was molded. And how was that molded? And you're looking for where those pieces were joined together. All right, so that's the assignment. Find something that has been molded and show me that web seam where the two pieces went together. All right, good luck.